Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Push to Pass F1 podcast. Look at us, we have consistency back. Weekly episodes are back and returned after a utter shocking weekend for Formula One. Would you agree?
Absolutely terrible. Game's gone. Podcast is gone.
Also, we do apologise. In our predictions, we didn't realise it was a sprint weekend.
Oh, wait. Did we not do sprint predictions?
No. It wasn't until we filmed it on the Thursday, did we?
Yeah.
We had filmed it on a Thursday or the Wednesday, and then I got a notification from Sky on the Friday saying that sprint qualifying was up and coming, and I was like, oh my god, we didn't even think of that.
That's alright.
But yeah, let's start on that. Before we get to the race, and obviously there's a lot of talking points and a lot of rants that we will have. One of them being the sprint weekend. It was, to put it mildly, boring and a bit dead.
Terrible. No pulse. Just for
no CPR.
Just for such a good track. I mean, I've seen quite a few sort of debates now that it's a good track, but it's not a good Formula One track anymore.
Yeah, it seems to be good for pretty much every other seat. Like even F2 and F3 are good, but
I don't know if it really fits the track in general. I don't think fits a sprint format. I mean, I don't like the sprint format anyway, but I just think at Spa it really fell flat. I think that's most people's opinions.
For me, it's too long of a track to be a sprint race.
Yeah, like we just looked then, it's like 15 laps, but it's just like Max set up his car just for the straight, and that was pretty much it. And it's just a DRS train. Yeah,
and like it got a bit ridiculous to the point where Oscar was getting within probably about 3 or 4 tenths, getting DRS down the straight, and Max was still able to pull away. I've just seen that the 2026 sprint calendars has been released. I think it got leaked by Zandvoort, which is weird. But our sprint races for 2026 apparently are China, Miami, Canada, Silverstone, the Dutch Grand Prix, and Singapore.
I'm finding it hard to talk about that because I can't get excited.
I can understand. I think all of them except Miami and Singapore. I can sort of understand Miami. Singapore makes zero sense to me whatsoever.
Silverstone would be a good one.
Silverstone's good because you just get more racing.
Miami is like a car park, isn't it? So
yeah, it's literally you can't. For me, a sprint race has to have jeopardy to the point where it actually matters, and you have to be able to overtake in the race. Like we saw with Oscar. Oscar was clearly he wasn't really that bothered to sling one up the inside of Max because he knew that if he did, he's only going to gain like 1 point.
Yeah, and I just like what you say about the jeopardy. Why have 2 qualifyings? At least like you've got a sprint qualifying. If you bin it in the sprint, it's not really the end of the world because you've got normal qualifying and then a normal race. You can still salvage a really good weekend.
Like, I used to like the 2021 format, and we spoke about this before on the pod, and that where you finished in that sprint race was where you started the actual race. That made sense. Or you do the F2 approach where you reverse the top 10.
One or the other. I mean, I like the sprint race being the qualifying for the feature race.
Yeah, I like that, because like we saw on a few occasions, I remember the first one they ever did was Silverstone, and Perez binned it into the wall, and that started last.
Yeah.
So it makes more than just drivers driving up to the back of each other and going, oh, do you know what, I'm not going to risk it because I don't really fancy the 1 extra point.
It really is just a money grab at this point. It's more action so they can justify having the ticket prices higher.
I generally reckon next year it could be like make or break.
I think next year will be the last year of the sprints.
Because if it doesn't work next year, they've gone through 3 different regulations where it hasn't really worked.
Either maybe not get rid of the sprints because I feel like they'll think that taking that away is then decreasing the product and they're not going to want that. But they're going to have to change the format again, I think.
Could they not do it? Right. And this is just a thought that's come to my head. Do you know they change it every year?
Yeah.
Why don't they keep it the same? Keep it to like the same 5 or 6 tracks which have good racing. So you could do like Silverstone, Interlagos, Austria, maybe like Monza, and then like a few others that you always guarantee are going to get at least a few overtakes, and have some sort of reward to, like, instead of giving out like 8 points, you give out like, I don't know, the higher you finish, like you get like double points or something.
Double points when? Double points in the sprint.
So say if you finish first. So say if you finish like say if they for the sprint. Say if they reverse the grid. So 10th started first and first started 10th. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the higher up you finish, the more points you get for the big race.
Oh, I don't know.
They've got to try something with it, surely. Like I come up with that idea, and even that just sounds wrong. But I can't think of any other way they can make a sprint more interesting by just giving out 8 points.
Just make it qualifying. Make it qualifying with points. That is that works for me. Because then you've got, all right, Max is first, 3 seconds ahead of Piastri with 5 laps to go. All right, he's going to win. But you could have someone like Hulkenberg, who got his strategy right, and he's absolutely aced it. He would have he started the sprint race in 18th, but he's managed to make up 9 positions, and he's in 9th, and now he starts the feature race in 9th. Like, that would be exciting for me.
What they should do for the sprint. So what have we got next? Next year we'll have 22 cars on the grid, won't we?
Yeah.
A 22-minute race, and each minute a driver gets eliminated.
Do you know, that's like is it called? It's the peloton, isn't it? Also, it's like the cycling races do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't work really, would it? But that'd be quite funny.
There's no other way to make a sprint interesting unless you give them all like F3 cars.
Do you know what I'd like? Is if you did, so like British Superbikes do this every now and then for qualifying, where you get one warm-up lap and then one flying lap, and that's your qualifying.
Oh, so it's like a one-shot type of thing.
Yeah, I think that would actually be really cool. Maybe do that for like the sprint race, and then
do it so you have literally like or they go out individually. So like yeah, okay.
So like when the one person's on their flying lap, the next person's on their out lap, sort of thing. So it's like bang 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 bang. You don't have to wait ages. But then that would decide your grid for the sprint, and then you race for your qualifying position for the big race, basically. I reckon quite like that.
They had a Joker lap in like Rallycross.
They got to go through like, I don't know, half the pit lane. No, I know that doesn't really work, but
you got to serve a mandatory drive-through.
Yeah, literally.
Well, this completely unrelated. Isn't our resident MotoGP sort of watcher? Isn't there a new rule in MotoGP where if you have a penalty, you've got to take like an extended corner?
Yeah, you got to do a long lap.
Yeah.
So it is like the Joker lap pretty much, but it just wouldn't work with cars because there's just not circuits aren't big enough.
Yeah, they say they're a bit wide, aren't they?
Yeah, and to be fair, the long laps don't really work themselves because certain long lap penalties are like half the time as other ones. They're not like means tested.
It's not like a consistent, right? Yeah.
Literally, so like you could be in like Germany one week, you do a long lap and it takes 2 seconds off your lap, and then you could go to France the next, it'd take 8. Like for example, there's no like set time.
Right, let's move on to the race because this sprints are even boring to talk about. I'm gonna just start off with the biggest probably talking point other than Lando Norris being a bottle job is Formula One's inability and fear of water.
They're so rattled by the rain. There's no
if you go from this season, it's probably about 4-1 to rain.
Where's the one? I can't even think of a time they have raced in the wet.
Silverstone was right. That's the one I will give them.
Well, no. That wrecked Piastri's race. I think he won that race if they didn't bring out the safety car.
It didn't rain. Yeah, well, the drivers seem to be a bit mixed about it because Max said if you think it's bad enough, you can lift, and George Russell was like, no, it's insanity.
Yeah, I think that's just. I mean, Max would be joking partially there, but I kind of like it. I kind of like that sort of.
I think he said in the media pen as well. If I can find it. Where's my TikTok? I know I made a video on it. He said after the race, he spoke about like he didn't agree with how they restarted and how stop-start it was. Because, where is it? Yeah, he said, it just ruins a nice classic wet race as well. We either still try to push for a proper wet race or we stop racing in the wet and wait for it to be dry. I think we can have cool wet racing like in Silverstone. And he was saying that like because obviously they red flagged the initial start procedure, didn't they? And then we had to wait like an hour and 20 minutes, and then they got going again. But then they had to do about 16 laps under the safety car, and then we had a rolling start, which is woke.
Yeah, I do get a rolling start in the wet because of the spray and such.
But it would have been fun to see a standing start.
Actually, saying that, rolling start's probably more dangerous because there's more spray kind of flying.
Yeah,
about
this was my thing, right? Because turn one at Spa is quite unique in the way of like it's almost like a downhill sort of corner. It's quite like Interlagos in that aspect.
It's got a strange camber to it.
Yeah, you and Spa is also in that weird realm where if you get pole, you are sort of at a disadvantage because you're on the right hand side of the grid.
Yeah.
But like Lando was saying on the radio, he was saying like the right hand side of the grid's completely wet, and he was the only person driving on the right hand side. But there is another 10 cars which have to go start on the right hand side. So why doesn't race director just go, right, do me a favour, you 10 go on that side, this 10 go on that side? It would clear the grid up far quicker, and you could do an actual like standing start.
What do you mean though? Because then some people would say like, oh, I'm disadvantaged because I've been put on the wet side.
Qualify better then.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying get over it, because that's just racing. Like, if you got that much of a problem with it, then push someone else onto it. If you get what I mean.
Okay.
Like, that's just how it crumbles.
This was my other thought. Are we going to have to start doing that for dry races because one side of the grid might be a bit dirtier?
Yeah, well,
it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did see a lot of people saying that Formula One needs to invest in better like track sort of equipment to dry a track. Because what have you seen? Right, have you seen NASCAR? And
not
things
properly.
that right. So to clear up a wet race in NASCAR, they have trucks with jet engines on the back of them.
That's so American.
But they'll have like, I think they have about 8 or 9 of them, which just drive around the track for probably about 3 or 4 laps, and the track is dry. At Spa, they have one man with a tractor with a brush on the front.
I do think though, just race in the wet.
Yeah, it's like it's almost part of Formula One's DNA to have wet racing, and it feels like we're losing it.
There is a line, of course. There's a line, especially in a place like Spa where it has history of biting back and bad injuries and fatalities. So I get it, and maybe we're unlucky that it rained at Spa, and maybe they would have raced at another track. But you've got a place like Silverstone, which is like perfectly safe. Probably, I'd argue, the safest track on the calendar.
With miles of runoff.
Yeah, and you're not racing there. So that tells me then that if it rains anywhere now, then they're not going to race in it. So why are you bothering? Why are you bothering with all the tyres? Why?
Do you know what? In probably the past, I'd say 5 years of Formula One, the only 2 times I can remember there being a valid reason to not race in the wet is Spa 2021 and the Monaco Grand Prix where it rained. I think Monaco is one of those tracks where it's like too dangerous to race in the wet, just because obviously it's a street circuit and how like closely packed it is, you just wouldn't see anything. And that Spa race that got cancelled was obviously just far too bad. But like, remember Turkey in lockdown?
Oh, now we're going back.
The 2020 Turkey Grand Prix where Stroll got pole, and it rained all weekend, and they had like the track was like an ice rink.
Yes, yeah, because it wasn't used, was it? Or it was freshly tarmacked or something like that.
Yeah, they put down something on it, and they just made like it was like an ice rink. And surely that's more dangerous.
Yeah,
a track where no one knows what's going to happen, and they barely ran under like a safety car that race.
The thing is, it's more dangerous doing what they did, where you kind of wait for it to half dry up because you're in between tyres. Then, if you've got a wet race, you've got the best technology in the world, you've got the best tyres in the world. They can cope with a wet race.
Why can't we use the wet tyre? What is the point of it?
Literally, that's what I'm saying. It's just a waste of time. So think how many lorries bring wet tyres alone. Like, what's the point? Why bring them? You're not going to use them.
This is my other point, right? And this is a feeling I've had for a couple of years. I think Pirelli are doing quite a bit of damage to Formula One.
What, as in, do you not think that the Pirelli wets are good enough? Is that why they're not using them?
You go back before Pirelli when they used to be like Bridgestone, Michelin. We never had issues with wet tyres or anything like that. I
don't know if that's just because... Yeah, I mean,
I see what your point... be because like the cars have got quicker and everything like that. It might be like they displace more water, whatever. But like, even the dry tyres for Pirelli, they're just, for me, they are starting to ruin racing a bit because they can either not work or cars can fire them up better or blah 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 blah.
I would say I don't think it's necessarily a Pirelli issue. I think it's more race direction issue with the rain. I think they're genuinely scared. They're scared that someone will have an accident, which I understand. Like driver safety is a priority, but I think you ask every single driver on the grid, they'd say, "Yeah, I'd race in the wet," especially back markers because it just opens it like it's wide open then.
Well, on the grid walk, Martin was with Nico Rosberg, and they spoke to Jenson Button, and they were like, "Oh, would you love to be in this?" And Jenson was like, "Yeah, it's great. Like it equalizes the field. Everyone can have a chance." And then they were like, "Oh, what about you?" And Martin was like, "Yeah, I've driven for back markers, and like this is where you can steal a point or two,
Yeah,
and like it can completely change your season." And like we saw that literally last time out. Hulkenberg got a podium.
this is like back in the day. This would have been someone who was on the fringes, not had a contract for next year. They're like, right, if I can get a top 8 here, I could get a contract.
Yeah, like this would be like a Colapinto's dream race.
Yeah, where you could just you know you're not really fighting for a championship. You're not fighting for anything. You got nothing to lose, and then that's the added jeopardy then as well because you've got someone like Piastri who's got a lead. He'd be going a bit easier because the last thing he'd want to do is throw it down the road. He'd probably take a 5th place.
Yeah,
But
he'd rather collect the 10 points than collect none at all.
you're just losing all of that, and like for a driver, they're probably annoyed, but just for the fans as well. Imagine all the fans there; they probably don't mind. They're wet anyway.
Yeah, like I'm speaking from someone who went to a wet Grand Prix. I went to Silverstone last year, and it rained pretty much the entire Saturday, apart from the F1, and then it rained during the race on the Sunday. And like, you borderline want to see the rain because it just makes racing more exciting. But then you get rain, and then you've got to sit behind 16 safety car periods. And then it's a red flag because they've got to get street sweepers out, and it just kills it all.
Yeah,
It's just not, that's not F1 in my eyes.
I completely agree, and you know we won't dwell on it for the whole pod, but we definitely have the same stance, and I think nearly everyone else will as well. But
Well, just to make you feel
on this, like at the same time, I don't think it's going to change.
no,
I
just to make
can't
you,
see them making a statement saying, "Oh, you know, we've decided that yeah, we're going to start racing in the wet again."
it's the FIA. I don't think the FIA will ever admit they're wrong.
Yeah, they'll just
Also, just
sack the bloke instead, and then just have a new one who's the same.
just to make you feel a bit better, the Hungarian Grand Prix this weekend is expected to be wet.
Oh, Hungary
sh-
turn 1 in the
I'm sh-
wet. Imagine
I'm
that.
sure it is. Remember what happened last time that happened? So, Hungarian weather. Yeah, Sunday it looks like it's raining all day. Oh, that's bowling.
Bloody hell.
Attention, thunderstorms and lightning is expected. Right, let's move on to our driver ratings. Overall, the race was pretty atrocious, but there were some pretty decent performances. We'll talk about drivers who had a bit of a bad weekend. Right, so your top 10 are in P10, Pierre Gasly, P9, Goatley Bortoleto, P8, Liam Lawson, P7, Lewis Hamilton, P6, Alex Albon, P5, George Russell, 4th, Verstappen, 6th, Leclerc. Nope, not 6th, 3rd, Leclerc, 2nd, Lando Norris, and 1st, Oscar Piastri. So let's start in P10 with Pierre Gasly.
Really
He
good drive.
He had a very... I know he spoke with the sprint already. He qualified really well for the sprint and was really unlucky not to start it.
That car, I don't think has much performance at all. But he finds a way. I like Gasly for that. He always finds a way.
And this might be a bit of like wishful thinking, a bit of recency bias. Do you reckon in like 10 sort of years, people will look back on Gasly and be a bit of like, what if? Because
I think so.
he's clearly a really good driver, and I just think that first Red Bull stint completely ruined him.
It'll be one of them where nostalgia will help him. People
Yeah,
will look back on paper and think, "Oh my god, like, he actually had some really good results." But then, realistically, do I think he'd be a title challenger in a top car? Probably not.
French Kobayashi.
He's a guy I like, and
Yeah, he's a very likable character.
he's definitely good enough to be on the grid. Like, there's no question about that. He is one of the best at getting the most out of a pretty rubbish car, and
Yeah,
He's
he's a
shown
bit
that
like
multiple years.
he's a bit like the new age Perez, isn't he?
I would argue this is quite an interesting one.
Here
Do
you go,
you
reach top takes.
think do you think that Williams would have been better off with someone like him rather than Sainz?
If you look from this season, Sainz is clearly having a bit of a stinker.
Because I mean, I'd imagine Gasly would have been cheaper.
He would have been far cheaper. Because actually, I don't know. Because technically, you're not buying Sainz out of a contract, do you? Because Sainz was sacked.
Yes, but I imagine a Ferrari contract. They're going to have got near that because
Oh yeah,
the
he
Williams
wouldn't have been cheap.
Yeah, it's not the most desirable seat. I mean, don't get me wrong, he didn't have much choice. It was either kind of like, there wasn't many seats for it, but I imagine like he's on a hefty wage. Realistically, do you think Gasly would have outperformed him?
I think the advantage that Gasly has is he's like familiar with being in that sort of lower midfield fight, like scrapping for points sort of job. And he might well have suited that environment a bit more, where Carlos is probably expecting to still be near enough the podium every weekend.
Yeah.
Right, so Carlos Sainz at Williams earns 10 million per year. Gasly salary. Nope. Yep. And Pierre Gasly earns 10 million a year. It seems to be around about the same, but I'm sure Carlos with like bonuses and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's
he probably would have been like given promises and stuff to be like up in like by 26 to be up in the top 4 and whatever.
Yeah.
I'll give Gasly a 7.
I think it was a good drive. I give him an 8.
P9 Gabriel Bortoleto.
I watched Tomo F1.
Yeah.
So he has like this spreadsheet where he calculates from qualifying and he does like the head-to-heads. And on average now, after this weekend, Bortoleto is faster than Hulkenberg off qualifying averages, which I think that's a good success. I mean,
for a rookie, definitely.
It's not translated into as good as race results. I mean, Hulkenberg's done really well, as we know. But I mean, that's like, is that 3 points finishes? No?
Let me have a look. Drivers. He's on 6 points. I know he got points in Britain. Am I correct in saying that? Yeah. So
no, he didn't. No, he crashed.
Yeah, he did. He had a big bang bang. So Britain, he didn't. Belgium, he obviously did. Austria, I think that was where he got his points.
Yep.
Yeah, Austria, he finished 8th.
Right. Okay.
So he's finished twice in the points.
If he can carry on and he can get a few more points finishes, I think people's perception of him will have taken a big U-turn for next year.
I think if he finishes the season in double figures, he'll be alright.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be in that Audi seat anyway. It's not like he's on the verge of being replaced.
Oh no, he's nowhere near at risk of losing his drive for next year. I think he's probably been 3rd or 4th best rookie.
I know he became a bit of a meme on this pod for a bit, but I do think
that was because you held him to such a high regard.
Yeah, he did disappoint me in fairness, but I think he is delivering now, and it was a good weekend again. Yeah,
he's just he's someone you want to do well. He just seems very likable, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I'll give him
it's a 7
point. I'll give him an 8.
Cool.
Yeah, have that. Speaking about P8, Liam Lawson. What a turnaround he's having.
He is, but it's that car, isn't it? I think that
the
car
racing balls does seem.
It's pretty decent.
I generally reckon they've just nicked the Red Bull from last year.
Probably, yeah. I imagine there's lots of similarities, but I think it's so strange because you don't want to overrate him, because this is kind of what happened with Tsunoda. Like, he was outperforming the second Red Bull. Yeah. So you're like, oh, well, he's great. Like, he deserves a step up. But now we've got the bloke that he replaced now beating him consistently.
I generally reckon it's just going back down to that second team. It's all about confidence. And I think Liam's just slowly getting back into the groove of, like, there's less pressure on him so he can sort of be a bit more free in the car. And he's clearly getting a bit more pace out of it.
It's that philosophy of, like, you go from being a big fish in a small pond to jumping into that Red Bull seat, and you're like, you're the second driver, you've got a lot of pressure to deliver because that car's a dog, and it just diminishes you. But it's nice to see Lawson scraping something together for this season. I mean, I
He's
think two
he,
rounds
he
ago
has.
we'd have said he was gone. Maybe now he might get somewhere. Never know.
I think he has to. He has to like properly scrap this last like leg of the season together, especially after the summer break, to have any sort of hope of a drive next year. I think.
I mean, it's definitely not going to be in that team as well. I'd say.
I don't.
I'd put money on that.
It depends what Red Bull plan on doing with Yuki next year, isn't it? Because another thing
I
we've got,
suppose.
another thing we didn't speak about is Max Verstappen to Mercedes is pretty much off apparently because his exit clause has expired. So it looks like that'll happen in 2027 and not this year. Well, not next year.
I suppose they kind of expected that then. If the exit clause had a time limit, then Red Bull would have to drag their heels.
Yeah,
So,
they've clearly like tried to stall it as long as they can.
yeah. So, I mean, if that is true, that's disappointing because I, for one, wanted a change up on the grid.
Yeah, the driver market now is just going to be a bit stale, I think.
But, is what it is.
I'll give Liam an 8.
Yeah, it's a good drive. I agree with you.
P7, Lewis Hamilton.
Well, it's kind of where he's
Weird.
been all year, isn't it? Literally, like,
Yeah.
that's that 5th to 7th, 8th sort of position. So it's nothing stand out there, but then it was a nightmare weekend up until that point.
Yeah, I think it was more his Sunday greatly saved his race, like his weekend as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, he struggled a lot. Did he get knocked out in Q1 in the sprint
Yeah,
qualifying?
no, he got knocked out in Q2. Let me have a look. Why can't I find Hamilton? No, he got knocked out in Q1 as well.
Yeah, I thought so.
Double Q1 eliminations. Woucher.
So, I mean, it's been so disappointing this year. I don't think he'll be very happy at the moment.
No, it's just.
I mean, he expects more. I think the team expect more.
Do you think it's a result of the pressure that people expected him to be? That people expected it to be better than this. That he's like struggling to.
Yeah, I mean,
I think people were expecting him to go straight back into like the 2018, 2019 sort of Lewis when the car is not as good as the Mercedes that he had that year.
I think a casual fan would have seen, oh, right, he's going into a Ferrari. He's going to be fighting for wins again. I, for one, thought that top fives every race were going to be, that was going to be the expectation. Few podiums, few wins. Obviously, that's not worked out. I mean, if he sticks around for next year, which I think he is, then he needs to be fighting for podiums every weekend. Otherwise, I think he's probably gone for 27.
Really?
I think so. I mean, at that point, he'd be 41, approaching 42, I think. And
Yeah, I think he's 40 now, isn't he?
Yeah. So I just, he seems the type that he'd want to retire before the sport retires him.
Yeah, he seems like someone's just he'll accept when it's up.
Yeah, and
like
I think,
when he feels like he's going to start tarnishing his image, I think that is when he'll stop.
and like he's said a few times now, especially with his one lap pace, that he's like old and not as good as he was. With I think just extracting like the pure limit for one lap. So I do think he has these thoughts now, but obviously he's going to give next year a go.
100%. Because it'll be new regs, it presents a completely different opportunity for him. Like he could next year, the Ferrari could be a front running team, and he could be in that sort of like fighting for podiums week in and week out, and he could potentially be like a championship title candidate. But I don't think it's working this year, and I'm going to give him a 7.
I'm going to give him a 6 because of the Q1 exit.
P6 Alex Albon, great weekend.
Really good weekend because I think he's had 3 non-points finishes.
He's had 3 non-finishes, I think.
Yeah.
He is walking Carlos Sainz.
Well, yeah, and I'm a Sainz fan, but it's nice to see that Albon's proved people wrong.
Did you see Martin Brundle saying that Lewis Hamilton cost Alex Albon his seat at Red Bull?
No, I didn't see that.
So Lewis was chasing Alex towards the end of the race, and it was up into one of the chicanes, and Lewis looked for a move, and Crofty was like, "Oh, Lewis backs out," and Martin was like, "A couple of years ago, Lewis would have gone for that." And if you remember, Lewis probably lost Alex's drive at Red Bull, and everyone on Twitter was like, "Oh my God, how can you blame him for that? It was literally a mistake."
Was that in Austria?
Yeah, well, he did it in Austria and Brazil, didn't he?
I forgot he did it twice.
He did it in Austria in 2020. In 2019, he did it when Alex was going to get a podium.
Yeah.
And he spun him round. And then, like, Gasly or something got a podium instead. But yeah, Alex, he is generally looking the much more of a lead driver at Williams at the moment. And he is probably one of the, and we will get on to this in next week's episode, he's probably been one of the best drivers of the year so far.
I think so. I'm really glad. It seems like he's found his spot. Like this is it for him. I think lead driver at Williams. He'll help with development. I really, it's a nice fit.
He's starting to get that bit of a critical edge as well. Like with the team, he's not afraid to call them out if like the car's not working or if he's not happy with the strategy, which is good to see. Because I think people paint Alex in this image of where he's like this nice guy and he's like he won't stand up for himself and he'll just roll over. But no, I'm really happy to see not only Albon back up but Williams back up.
I think it's a 9.
Yeah. P5 George Russell literally did nothing all race. Overtook Albon, but that's about it.
Sounds like he was scared.
Yeah, he could have lifted if he wanted to.
He could have. I mean, says the armchair races. I mean,
I literally cannot name one thing he did, so I'm going to give him a 6.
It's bang average. The Mercs, it feels like they've lost so much performance the last few races.
Did you see Kimi Antonelli crying?
Yeah, that's sad. That was sad to see.
And people are now contemplating whether he's going to be replaced for next year, with or without Max.
Oh no,
Right.
Maybe Max, but not anyone else.
No, I was firmly of the if he was going to be replaced, it'd be by Max, but they've invested too much money in him to just go, you've had a year, like you're not good enough. Like their season pretty much is a write-off. Ferrari are comfortably probably going to get second in the constructors, and George is probably good enough to get them third anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like their performance is really well. We were on about how there's no more development for the year, so I think they're just going to kind of teeter down.
Plateau. Yeah. 6. P4 Max Verstappen. Taking into account both sessions, it's a very good weekend.
Yeah, winning the sprint was big.
Really good pole up.
I don't know, there's like not much to say.
No, he just got caught up behind Leclerc and the car just didn't look as good as it did in the sprint. I think that was more because of the wet. They didn't really have the advantage to just run away.
Yeah, I think it's a setup thing. He spoke about setup after the race and such.
I will go with a 6.
I'll go with a 7 just because he won the sprint.
Oh yeah, actually I'll go with a 7. P3 Charles Leclerc. I'm gonna just go straight off a whim and say I'm gonna go with a 9 out of 10.
It's a wicked drive. Did really well to hold back Max. It overtook Norris at one point.
That was in the sprint.
Oh, never mind.
You're thinking of when Max and Charles both overtook Oscar and Lando in the sprint race.
But it's still a good weekend. I mean,
a Ferrari should not be on the podium, in my opinion.
I don't know. It's hard to see. It's hard to tell what the true performance of that car is, I think.
I think the Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari can comfortably be in any order. I think that's more down to your driver, and that's why I think Max tends to be more on top.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really fair assessment. And I think it also depends on the track, weekend to weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with the 9.
I'll agree.
P2, Lando Norris. Now.
Right, I gotta watch what I say.
I don't. So I've got a very strong opinion.
Go on.
I'm gonna go with a 5 out of 10.
Oof. Go on.
Don't get me wrong, his pole position was fantastic and it was exactly what he needed. But he was nowhere near in sprint qualifying. In the sprint, he was stuck to fighting Charles for too long, so he couldn't get anywhere near Oscar. And then in getting pole and having that advantage, that was his race to win, and that was his race to go into the summer break with like a 2 point gap, I think it was, to Oscar. But instead, he loses the lead on the restart, falls behind. Obviously, the pit stops. Oscar's going to get priority, which is again another issue Lando had. Another reason why he needed to keep that lead. And then he was clearly looking quicker towards the end, but again, Lando just got in his own head and tried to overdrive the car and made too many mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, no lies were told. It's true. I mean, I'm quite harsh on Lando anyway, as listeners would probably figure out by now. It's
I'm harsh on Lando because I want him to do well. I hold Lando to a really high regard, in the sense of I think he has the potential to be as good as like top 2 or 3 on the grid.
Yeah, and I think ordinarily probably is with if you add in car performance, but
yeah,
he's not got that edge yet. I think this weekend is just this was a killer for the championship. I mean, points wise, still very much to play for, but mentality wise and opportunities, he's got to have been taking those.
It again just strengthens the narrative of Lando being unable to take it to Oscar and like keep his control.
I think he can take it to Oscar. It is more of a personality thing.
I think he's more than quick enough to win this championship, and he's more than quick enough to like fight with Oscar and beat Oscar every weekend. The issue is, for him to get to that limit, I think he has to sort of go over his like what he thinks he can do. So he starts getting out of like we've seen it before in like especially in his Q3 performance this year. He is more than good enough, but I think he overdrives the car because he thinks he needs to do that to beat Oscar. In the sense of if he just backed himself and his raw talent, I think he'd be pretty much on par with Oscar.
Yeah, I think it comes back to. I agree with what you're saying. By the way, I think his natural limit of where he's comfortable is slightly less than Oscar's.
Yeah.
And that will come down to loads of things that we don't even know about. I mean, the data would probably show it, but I think it ultimately comes down to, he said before that he doesn't necessarily click with the car.
Mm.
And I think this is just the issue that McLaren have with having two really fast drivers, where the car isn't necessarily tailored to either of them.
It's just generally quick in general, isn't it?
And I think, that helps Piastri more than Norris, because he's that bit more naturally quick, and that's not to do with talent, that's to do with mentality, in my opinion. That's just my assessment.
Yeah, I like a lot of people have said it as well this weekend. I think Oscar is just generally a mentality monster. Like I've compared him to, and it's probably a weird comparison, but I think he is the Cole Palmer of F1. He thinks he's driving like a simulator or something, or he's just playing the F1 game.
He just seems so unshakable. He just is like really calm.
You just can't seem to like tap into his mentality at all. He's just like, even they were saying to him towards the end, they were like, "Oh, you're gonna have to like be careful on these tires. We think they're gonna go to the end." And he's like, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah,
and they're like, "How's the visibility? Are you struggling?" He's like, "No, that's all right."
And at the start of the year, he won like 4 out of the first 6, I think. And I was getting excited, and I thought, he's going to put together a really good campaign. But I was expecting at this point in the year, or at some point of the year, Max Verstappen would get under his skin, and like something would happen. There'd be an incident, there'd be a fallout, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I mean, they've raced wheel to wheel a few times now, and it doesn't seem like that's ever going to creep into his game of
let's,
getting shaken up.
so let's move on to Oscar. Your point with the Max thing. I think that showed hugely in the sprint as well, because realistically, Oscar could have gone for a massive dive bomb, took them both out of the race, and the championship then swings back into Lando's favour. But I think he was more than mature enough to just go, yeah, do you know what? The Red Bull is just ultimately quicker than my car today. I'm just going to hang back, grab these points, and I'll do it all again then on Sunday. And I think that is just the difference he has. Is I think he has that sort of championship mentality.
It's that control. Ultimately, I mean, I'm sure it's really hard to remember at the time, but he's got to think, I've got like 5 or 6 races in my back pocket that I've already won this year. I don't need to go fighting for one extra point in a sprint. I'll just sit on a second place. And I can almost guarantee that he'd have done that again on Sunday. If Norris didn't make mistakes and did go for a lunge, I reckon Piastri probably would have been all right with just settling for the second place, because it's that championship mindset. He's not taking it race by race at this point. He's put together a good enough campaign where you can think, right, I can rest on that. I can take those points. We'll go again next week.
I'm going to give Oscar a 9. I don't think it's 10.
It would have been a 10 if he won the sprint.
Yeah, I think it would have been 10 if he won the sprint and if he got pole. He just managed to get second for both, which, again, it's that consistency of he's pretty much guaranteed every week to be on the front row.
Yeah.
And you'd back him even if he is second to stay there or go first. So
yeah, I'll go with a 9 as well. Just what I said. He didn't win the sprint. But
right.
Just quickly on Oscar, he's tied now with Ricciardo for the same amount of wins.
Is he?
Yeah.
How many did Daniel finish with? 9? Or was it 8?
So him, Norris, Leclerc and Ricciardo are all tied on 8 wins. Cannot believe that Leclerc only has 8 wins. That's criminal. After all this time, it's not even his fault, I don't think. It's shocking.
Right, let's do quickly biggest winners and biggest losers. I'm going to go biggest winner. I will go with... I'll go Oscar, because I think it's just, again, he's properly stamping his foot and like spinning that narrative towards him just being miles like clear in advantage. Biggest loser, I will go with, I want to say Sainz, but I'm going to go with Antonelli.
Yeah, talk about kick a man when he's down, Max. Jesus. But yeah, it's hard to argue that. Aside from the obvious for biggest winner, which is obviously Oscar, because he did win. I'd say it's big for Leclerc this weekend.
Yeah, it was between him, Leclerc, and probably Albon.
I'd agree. And I always think a third place for Leclerc I look at differently, because I genuinely believe that is the most he can do and has been able to do for like the last 3 years.
I think a third for like a Leclerc, a Russell, and maybe even a Verstappen it's probably what they would expect as their maximum for a weekend, if they're being realistic. Probably not Max, because Max would probably still like back himself to win. Yeah. But I think Red Bull in general would accept.
Yeah, I think the Ferrari at the minute just isn't great. So that's a good weekend for Leclerc, and I'd say the biggest loser would be Fernando Alonso, because he put in together the last few. He started off really poor and then got a few points finishes, and now he's back down to fighting for like the bottom 2 next to his teammate. Clearly, I know the car didn't have any pace, but usually he's a few tenths faster than Stroll.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't
quite
comfortably beaten by Alonso. Right. So now we're going to be moving on to our predictions for the Hungarian Grand Prix, which is this weekend. Reef, what are your thoughts of the Hungarian Grand Prix? Are you a fan?
I like it. Proper racetrack.
It's a Marmite track, innit?
I don't really know why.
I think it does. We've had a few stinkers down there, haven't we? Because it's usually called. People call it Monaco without the walls, don't they?
Well, it's in fairness, it is very small, but it's at this point now that I do think I'm like biased to any track that is actually a racetrack these days, because there's so many street tracks.
It's a track that you could drive pretty much any car around it, and you'd probably have fun in it.
It looks amazing, and I like it because you can get some different results.
Yeah, like we had obviously Ocon one there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about.
Um,
So I'm a fan.
yeah, it's very similar to me in the sense of like a Spain, in the sense
I
of
could, yeah,
it can be a bit hit or miss, but it just looks like a solid track.
both got really tight first corners. Just a
Yeah,
funny observation.
Hungary does seem like it seems like a very tight MotoGP track in the sense it's laid out.
Yeah, I mean they don't go there,
Yeah,
but I can kind of see what you mean about because it's got a few like fast sweepy corners, which would
yeah. There's no real like hard braking zones, is there?
no, and look, I like it anyway. But it's interesting because I don't really know who's going to go well.
I'm trying to. It's well, usually, if anything's going to go well there, it's something to do with Lewis Hamilton. So
I mean, we can hope, can't we?
we can be blindly ambitious, but it won't be. Right, let's predict our top three. Let's predict third place because top two pretty much picks itself.
Yeah, I think we are at the point of the year where, unfortunately, it is just, especially now that like teams are shutting down for the year. That's what
Actually,
it feels like, doesn't it?
I tell a lie. I'm going to splice it up a bit. I'm going to go with third, Lando Norris.
Yeah.
I'm going to go second, Max Verstappen. And I'm going to go first, Oscar Piastri.
Right. Well, what's your thinking? Why are you dropping Norris?
I think he might be a bit rattled after this weekend, and also I think Max is just generally quite good around Hungary.
I was just thinking. I was trying to wrap my brain at Max's form around Hungary, but then I remembered that he's good everywhere. So
Yeah, he is sort of a driver which can just like completely get rid of any sort of like advantage per like. You could say like one driver likes this track or one driver's good at this track, and then you get Max and you just go, yeah, he's quite good at everywhere.
But he's just mega talented, isn't he? He is just an absolute prodigy. But I'm gonna go with just knowing that the McLarens do have such a advanced performance. I'm gonna go with P3 Verstappen, P2 Norris, P1 Piastri.
Well, of course, obviously last year was the year that the McLaren drama happened. Remember?
Which McLaren drama?
When they pretty much forced Lando to let Oscar through.
That was then.
Yeah.
Christ.
I just thought, because I was just looking back to see, because I can't remember who had won. So in the past 5 years, we've had Lewis in 2020, then Ocon, then Verstappen won it back to back in 22 and 23, and then we had Oscar last year.
Yeah. I kind of forgot that Oscar even won last year.
It was his first race win, wasn't it?
And now that makes me think more happy about having him P1 because
Yeah.
clearly he gets on with the track.
He clearly likes it. Race predictions. Here we go. Who's crashing into who?
No, we got told off the last time for this, so
We got battered.
let's try not make this absolute yap. So
Yeah, you in the comments, by the way. Go home. Get a life.
no, please view.
Yeah, please do. We don't have enough.
If we're thinking from a common sense standpoint, thinking logically, a race prediction would be, I think, Norris and Piastri are going to be, race pace wise, are going to be a lot quicker than everyone else. I wouldn't be surprised if Max is able to stick with them for like a couple laps because he's just
the opening stint. It seems to be the case recently, isn't it? He can sort of stay there, and then you'll fall back a bit.
But then, if we're thinking about it with the wet that you said, 90% chance to rain on a Sunday, that's still that probably favours the McLarens because just I feel like at the top level with the cars are good in the wet and the dry.
Yeah, so they just seem to be their pace is transferable from pretty much any condition, isn't it? So they're not like a Mercedes, which needs like a 3 degrees difference.
Unfortunately, I'm not seeing anyone that's going to pose any challenges to those two.
No.
So what do you think?
I personally think the top three from qualifying is going to be the top three in the sprint, in the race. I think it'll be Verstappen third, Norris second, and Oscar first.
Are you expecting a boring race?
I'm expecting a 100% snooze fest.
Brilliant.
Because the way I can see it is, right, Oscar gets a good start, just runs away. Lando spends time fighting with Max, because Max will just try and keep ahead of him as much as he can, or he'll just try and keep with him as much as he can. And I think Max in the wet is quite a bit better than Lando. And then it just gives Oscar the opportunity to just run away. And that is all we have time for today on the Push Pass F1 podcast. This has been our Belgian Grand Prix review and our Hungarian Grand Prix preview. Keep your eyes out for next week. We're not going to have a race review because I am on holiday, but we will have our mid-season review, if I'm right in saying. Yep, we're going to do a mid-season review. So keep your eyes out for that. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. It hugely helps. And if you're listening on Spotify, drop us a 5-star and drop us a follow. It is hugely appreciated. I have been Max. And this has been the Push to Pass F1 podcast.